5, 6, 7, 8. It's a mess, sis. Oh, it's a mess, sis.
Hello, everybody, and
It's a
welcome
mess,
to the
sis.
podcast. It's a mess,
Oh, it's a
sis.
mess,
So, what
sis.
exactly is a mess? A
It's a
mess
mess,
is a
sis.
situation or a state of affairs
It's a
that
mess,
is
sis.
confused or full of difficulties.
It's a mess,
The
sis.
mess is when things don't go the way you
It's a mess,
plan.
sis.
It is when you have to go off script,
5,
improvise,
6,
ad
7.
lib, sit through the
It's a mess,
awkwardness,
sis.
and breathe through the pain until you come
It's a
out on
mess,
the other
sis.
side, because you will come out
It's a
on the
mess,
other
sis.
side. It is everything that makes life
It's a mess, sis.
interesting and transformative. It is what
It's
we
a
are here
mess,
to do.
sis.
It is how we learn how
It's a
to
mess,
be.
sis.
So, join us as we
It's a
dive
mess,
into
sis.
this week's mess.
It's a mess, sis. Oh.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to It's a Mess, Sis, my favorite podcast. I'm Jessica, and I am a mess. I've spent my whole life chasing perfection, only to realize that there is no such thing. And chasing it led me down a road to misery. I now know that peace and alignment should be my goal in all that I do. Through these episodes, I've been able to explore my deepest fears and my wildest fantasies, and I hope you'll join me for the ride and do the same.
All right. What to do, everybody? My name is Rena. I'm your co host, and I'm just out here living. Your other co host, by the way. Well, that's the whole point of saying co host. Anyway, I currently reside in the DMV. I'm a content producer, writer, feeler, thinker. I just like making things and being creative. I've been on my own personal self development journey for the past few years now and seek an outlet to share what I've learned, what I've struggled with, and what I continue to absorb because I believe that can not only help myself but those who resonate with my stories and experiences. I'm also working to develop my vision and purpose in life, which I've narrowed down to talking and writing and loving on people while getting paid for it. And that is what I'm doing.
Lovely. So that is a little bit about us. And you guys are joining us for episode 39 entitled Mama, you know I love you. What kind of mother would you be? And we're really excited to get into this episode and do a little digging and dicking down for ourselves. But before we do, we have a little segment called What's the Mess? So I'm going to ask Rena, what's your mess?
Okay, so my mess for this week, and really just my mess in general, is
All of it.
that I'm trying to pick a struggle.
Uh-huh.
I've been feeling lately that I fluctuate between being really overwhelmed and
Uh-huh.
then not giving a fuck.
Wow.
So I've been at like the two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm really trying to focus on balancing my energy right now, trying to find that happy medium,
Yeah.
and I have this nagging feeling coming up about something. I don't know what it is. I just feel like something's coming, or there's something I'm going to be doing, or something. There's
Mhm.
something I'm feeling,
Mhm.
and as a result, I feel this like unrest and excitement and panic because I don't know what it is or when it's coming. All I
Mhm.
can do is feel it until it's here. And I feel like I'm waiting for my feelings and a direction to align
Yeah.
so that like I can know where to go.
Mhm.
It's like I have pieces and they're all there and they're coming together. And then I'm wondering, well, do I have to pick a direction? Am I the person like those holding those pieces back from coming together? Is there something that I
Okay.
need to do? Um, I, and I think this is where I get overwhelmed,
Mhm.
you know. And then I feel like the universe is kind of like, maybe you do need a direction, maybe not. Like, just try shit. I feel like this you just need to just try shit. Not just do it.
Yeah.
Like you need to explore and see how it works out and there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
And I am also obsessed with I want to get it right.
That's that
And
Virgo
then the
energy.
universe is like, right, right. And the
Mhm.
universe is like, there is no right. And I'm like, there are ways I go that take longer than others. I want the shorter way. The
All right.
longer one is wrong, the short one is right.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just like I'm in this space where I feel like I'm being called to feel more and have that fuel my movements and my steps.
Yeah.
And I'm so used to planning and strategizing and having like a center point, like I'm gonna get here. And it's more like I'm gonna go along with this until I feel like I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's overwhelming because
Yeah.
it's like I'm living in this place. It's like I'm being asked to live in a place that has no regard for time. Yet
Yeah.
society in the world has a time
Right.
constraint in place. And
Right.
the universe like, don't worry about that. And I'm
Right.
like,
How?
in your little 5D world where time doesn't exist, I get that. Yeah, have y'all been down here?
Right.
Y'all don't see how this time thing, like it's limited, you know? And they're like, yeah, don't worry about that. I'm like, so you trying to like cross this over lifetimes? Like, what are we doing? And then it's you see,
Seems
this is
like a
my
lot.
struggle. So
It seems like a
yeah,
lot.
I just need to stay in the present. That long story short, I am constantly stepping outside of the present
Okay.
into the future,
Yeah.
and the future doesn't exist yet. So I'm playing all these hypotheticals, and then my ego is trying to like make a whole story to go along with it, and it's just overwhelming me and counterproductive. I think I just realized I just need to do what the universe said and just live.
Right.
Long story
Right.
short, my message is I just need to live, and I've been frustrating myself. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a very relatable mess. I feel like it's a very relatable mess because, I'm Virgo sun, so planning shit is like my life, and so I've been living in that just live stage too, and sometimes it feels exhilarating, and it's like, oh shit, I don't know what's gonna happen, who knows, and then next time it's like, oh shit, what's gonna happen, who knows, like, oh my god,
That's what
yeah,
I'm talking about. That I care a lot and that I don't give a
yeah,
fuck. And
yeah.
I'm like, is something wrong with me? Do I need to go see a mental health professional? Am I not regulating my emotions?
I mean, I think a mental
Yes.
health professional is for all of us. I wasn't just
That's
saying you. That wasn't shade. I was just saying I feel like there's so much going on in the world and we're doing our best to keep the status quo and to maintain some semblance of normalcy, but things are not normal. Things are changing. The world is wildly changing. We're wildly changing. We're getting older. There's lots of things that are happening and I don't know that, a lot of us are fully equipped emotionally um to just I'll speak for myself. I know that I definitely could use some tips and some tools, and I feel like mental health professionals definitely have some tips and some tools. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but I definitely need some. Hey, why don't you try this? Okay, cool. Let me try that. Type of thing. So
I
I
definitely I definitely agree. And with it being mental health awareness month,
right.
you know, um, I definitely agree. I can't wait. I actually do want I'm eager to see somebody,
Yeah.
a therapist, counselor, and whatnot. It's just finding one is hard
Yeah.
because so much is going on and people are actively seeking out help. And I think that's great. That
Yeah.
is great. I just need somebody to open up their schedule for me.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
And
no
don't be calling me back 2 months later. I'm like, I got a whole different crisis. I don't even know why I called you 2 months ago.
Right, right. Well, I hope that you were able to find somebody to kind of help you with your journey. And I hope you do some breathing and just kind of until you get there. I know that's one thing, breathing just to kind of settle yourself into the present. That has been helpful for me. And so I hope that'll work for you a little bit.
I have gotten a lot better at breathing, and I am definitely using that as a tool. Stillness, and I started life coaching, so I'm not completely, not just started. I restarted life coaching, so I
Yeah.
do have a support. Um, so yeah, you're right. I mean, I know these things. I'm just talking about it because it's the mess, and that's what I've been dealing with. But I actually feel like I've been navigating it pretty well,
Mhm.
honestly.
Yeah. That's good.
Just I
That's good.
know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel it.
Mm. So what about you? What's your mess this week?
My mess this week is that I am done filming.
Ooh.
I know, and I'm trying to get my life back on some semblance of a schedule. And it feels like a bit strange to be back in this space of the real world with all of the real tasks and real deadlines that I have. And the further
Mm.
from actually being involved in the project, the more it seems like it was a dream. And I don't know if I sound ridiculous, but yeah, it's like I've woken from a dream and now it's back to reality. Like, should I change jobs? Should I look for a new place to live? How many appointments do I have this month? All these things that were in the back of my head while filming are now in the forefront. So yeah, that's the mess this week. I'm just getting back acclimated to the real world again and just trying to move in a healthy way towards my dreams. You know what I mean? Trying to move in a healthy way toward health, toward wellness, toward my well-being. Just trying to put steps in place that are going to be beneficial immediately and for my future self. So, yeah, that's my mess this week. Just trying to get back into the nitty gritty of all the things, you know.
Get back into the groove of
Yeah,
life.
of life. Yeah, yeah. So that's it.
I get that.
Yeah.
No, I get that. And then, like, when you were talking about, like, getting back to the real world with real tasks and deadlines, I felt that,
Mhm.
just trying
Mhm.
to you'll figure it out.
I will.
You just
Go ahead. I'm
Go
sorry.
I'll say you just accomplished a really, really big goal.
Yeah.
One of many. It's like, okay, yeah, you've done this one, and now it sounds like you're preparing for like the next step. It's like, okay, the level up. What's the
Yeah.
next level?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
get it.
And I'm trying not to beat myself into this place of like always having to do that. I'm trying
Uh,
to rest in the fact that I just did something really incredible that and being okay with that being what it is for right now and not being like, okay, what am I doing next? And that thing, but also being like, well, what are you doing next? just
well,
balance. I think just the balance of it all. I'm just trying to find balance in my life, I think.
I think we pretty much have the same mess then.
Yeah.
We're looking for a balance.
Yeah.
And when I said that level up, I feel like that level up is gonna happen regardless, just because
Yeah.
of the way you're moving. So what I mean by like, what are you doing now? It's more like your preparation. Like what's meant for you is going to come. It's like now you just have this time to kind of to get ready or to make sure that you're prepared. So whether that's resting, replenishing your energy, your funds and whatnot, figuring out what that's gonna look like, just because it's not exactly like the next level of your career path doesn't mean that those steps and that work isn't important. And I feel like that's what I'm struggling with. I'm like I'm doing something that I know isn't quite it, but it's definitely and I'll find myself working and be like, oh, this ain't
Yeah.
it. But I do believe it's a step that's going to get me to where I need to go. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so I still need to put energy into this, and I need to have gratitude that I have this step
Mhm.
because it's
Mhm.
part of the preparation. So
It
yeah,
is.
it's not
It is.
about like, oh, I just need to get the dream job. It's like, okay, I understand. I'm prepping. I'm prepping and I'm
Yeah.
waiting. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's dope. I mean, it seems like sometimes we're all like, even though our mess sounds so different, a lot of times we're kind of like right in the same, mess of shit, which is very interesting. And it's very nice to be able to like, just be able to kind of go back and forth with it. So I appreciate you being a listening ear and all of you guys also. Thank you for listening
Of
to
course.
us. Okay, so that's the mess. And now we're going to dive back into the episode, which, if you remember, is Mama, I Know You Know I Love You. What kind of mother would you be? And then we just wanted to say why we do this episode. And this was my topic. And tomorrow's Mother's Day, obviously. And while I don't see myself birthing children, I would love to be a foster parent in the future. And I thought it'd be a fun conversation to explore ourselves as possible mothers. Okay, so then, like, why did you agree to do this topic?
Um, because Jessica said so. um, but really, because it's Mother's Day, and I knew I wanted to do something to address the holiday,
Yeah,
but I had no clue what to do. I've been feeling a way about Mother's Day, and I was trapped in this line of thinking that the topic had to be about my mother.
yeah.
So when you brought this up, I was like, huh, that's one for the brain. Okay. So instead of talking about my mother and how I perceived her in that role, let's talk about how I think I would show up in that role and
Mhm.
see what I would learn about myself and my relationship with my mother and my thoughts on motherhood itself. So that's where I took it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's lovely. So we're going to dive right in and dick it down for the people. And so, speaking of dicking it down, we're going to tell you the agenda for this episode, and I will turn that over to Rena.
Well, as always, the agenda is to dick it down, which stands for define, impact, and cope. So, this episode, we will provide our personal definitions of what a mother is and what type of mother we think we'd be. Then, we will discuss the impact of the concept of motherhood on our lives. And lastly, we talk about how we cope with our understanding, experiences, and feelings concerning the concept of motherhood and our thoughts around what type of mother we think we would be or want to be. Another thing to note is that we make each section clearly known. So feel free to pause throughout the sections to give yourself time to answer. So you'll hear either Jess or I say, okay, we're at the definition, we're at the impact, we're down to the cope. And these are all suggestions. We've just kind of set this up and designed it so that you would follow along with us. So if you feel compelled, you can jot down your answers and your thoughts. Just do what feels right for you.
Mhm. Perfect. All right. So that's the agenda, and we'll dive right in. First, we'll start with the definition. So I defined mother using Google last year around the
Mhm.
same time because we were doing the Mother's Day episode then. And for continuity, I will do so again. But I also want to give my own personal definition this year. So we'll start with Google. So according to Google, a mother is a woman who inhabits or performs the role of bearing some relation to children who may or may not be their biological offspring. And for my personal definition, a mother is the person who loves you most in the world, who shields you from harm and guides you on your journey to your best self. Now, I know that isn't universal, but that is what I gleaned from my own mother. So, as it stands right now, if and when I become a mother, that is my goal, to be a pleasant guide on the journey of life of whoever I am mothering, right? To be a pleasant, oh, I already said that. And then I would also be attentive and kind, and those are all of the positive attributes that I think that I would be giving to a child. And what I'm working on now is the fact that I would also be judgmental. That's just something I'm working on in life. I understand intellectually that we're all on different journeys and paths, but sometimes other people's paths look so confused and ragged that I just want to step in and help them or correct them. And oftentimes that isn't helpful. So that's one of the ways that I know that at this very moment is how I would mother. I think there would be a lot of great things, but I think there are some things that, namely the judgment, that I would need to work on in my mothering.
Okay. you know what? I applaud that awareness. I really
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Because you could just say, nah, your life look a mess and I'm fixing it and have that be and be like, that is one of the best things about me. That if you looking raggedy out here, I'm fitting to help you whether you want it or not. So,
If you had asked me 10 years ago, probably,
ooh,
but growth.
I see it. I see it and I applaud it. Respect for the journey. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
Okay.
So what about you? What is your definition, and what kind of mother do you think you would be?
Oh, well, I always be like scratching my head trying to pull out a definition. So
Right.
I said a mother is a female gendered animal or mammal that gives
Wow.
birth to offspring.
Oh my
I don't
God.
even if you all even heard it because I'm laughing so hard.
Jesus.
Um, so let me just repeat it. I said a mother is a female gendered animal or mammal that gives birth to offspring. And so that was like my first thought. And then I was like, wait a minute. When I like read it over, I was like, I kind of take offense to my own definition
Uh-huh.
because I don't feel like you have to give birth to someone to be a mother
Mm.
or that you have to be cisgendered female or biologically born female to be a mother. So then I thought and thought, and I came up with a mother is someone who identifies as female only because the term has been assigned to a specific gender identity.
Mm.
And that person cultivates, nurtures, and protects another human being.
Okay.
So that's my personal definition.
I fucks with it.
Uh, yeah, and then as I grow, if I need to add to it and expand to it, I will because that's what we do and that's what this podcast is about.
Okay.
So what kind of mother would I be?
Hmm.
Well, first, a gay one. There you
Wow.
go. Right.
Profound. Profound.
Exactly. Gay ass mother.
Oh, gay mama.
A gay mama. That's it. No, I'm just kidding.
Uh-uh.
uh, seriously, this was really hard for me to really consider because a big reason why I'm not a mother is because I hold this position in such high regard. So to sit here and think about it, you know, my first thought was like, oh, it's hard. So let me not think about it. I don't want to do that. So, but um, when I really, buckled down and say, okay, what kind of mother would I be? I believe I would be what my mother was to me, with some tweaks and adjustments. So, based on what I would take intentionally from my mother, I feel like I would instill and foster a sense of independence, a strong work ethic, diplomacy, financial balance. not to be confused with literacy.
Mhm.
Um, logistics and strategy, responsibility, stability, things like that. I would also be aware of positioning myself and my child slash children, children, the children.
Okay,
I thought of
multiple.
more than one. Ah,
Right.
multiples. Ah, ah. Anyway, ah, who knows? Who knows where I'll be in a couple of decades?
I'm sick.
So yeah, I feel like I would position myself in a way that would afford opportunities and expansion. So traveling would be like a must. Exposure to different cultures, art, clothing, beliefs,
Mm.
and there would be love. There would be love, a very solid, foundational, stable, dedicated love.
Okay.
So that's what I would intentionally.
Okay. Okay.
Unintentionally, though,
Let's hear it.
um, as a mother, I feel like I would probably be emotionally reserved, more
Damn.
focused on presentation and accomplishing tasks than how the child felt about the task. So
Mm.
big Virgo energy, what you
Big
just
Virgo.
said about judgment and
Yeah.
helping to correct them because they
Mhm.
raggedy. That right there,
Yeah.
that right.
Damn.
Um, yeah, I would probably, if I'm not mindful, like I saw so unintentionally, if I'm not mindful of this, I will put less emphasis on understanding and feeling the task versus getting it done.
Yeah.
So it will all be about, like, do what you got to do to complete this.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't care how you feel about it, but this is what needs to be done according to the laws or the research or the stats. Like a very logical
Mhm.
strategy in life. If you do this, 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 and this, you'll be guaranteed safety. If you deviate from this plan, if you're homeless, that's on you.
Wow.
Uh,
Oh my god.
so, I mean, does that not sound like a little Virgo-esque? Like if you just do
Yeah.
what I told
Do
you to
what I
do the
say.
way I
You'll
said
be
you to
good.
do it, because I have calculated the path. And this is the path
Trajectory.
for everybody. If
Mhm.
everybody would just take this path, it would
Be
be
good.
heaven on earth.
Right.
Mm,
Literally.
yeah. Even though heaven is subjective, you know.
I suppose.
See, I ain't even getting in. Let me get back to my definition. Let me get
Okay,
back to.
okay, back to your definition.
We can talk about this later. There will be limited communication outside of what needs to be done, and
Mhm.
like I said, it's all unintentional. So if we aren't talking solutions, why are we talking that type of energy?
No.
So not leaving a lot of room for compassion and self-exploration of feelings and differing opinions. And these are things that I'm definitely working on because I think these are the things that I wish I had more room to explore as a child. So that's one thing that I would get a really firm understanding on before taking on any gently pre-owned and pre-traumatized child
Wow.
um, via the foster system or off the street or adoption. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right, right.
Um,
Not gently owned. I'm sick. She said gently owned. Mm-mm.
oh yeah, gently pre-owned and slightly traumatized. You
Wow.
know?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Is there more?
So oh, there's a lot more. I feel
Tell us.
like I said
Tell
there's
us.
a lot more. So yeah, I'm just working on trying to see life beyond just a task that you have to complete, but something to be enjoyed, explored, and challenging, but rewarding with the emphasis on you. So in this case, the child in their journey, and that's kind of what you were saying before. You want to focus on you understanding that everybody has their own journey,
Yeah.
and that's really where I want to be. So I would want to focus on guiding versus telling a child what they should do in their lives because they're humans, little
Right.
ones, but one day there'll be bigger ones. And I want them to have a voice. They need
Yeah.
to have a voice that's rooted in their internal self. If they don't want to have that voice, that's on them. But at least let their internal self say that they didn't want to have a voice. I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
That was confusing. A voice is important. What you choose to do with your voice is on you.
It's
And
true.
I want them to know that. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that long story short, I think I'd be okay. I think I do great in certain areas.
Mhm.
And I also know I'd make mistakes.
Mhm.
Because perfection is for the dead. Uh, but I
Wow.
also know was that like a strong statement?
I mean, it's unproven. Firstly, we don't know if it's perfect to be dead, but it
I
just
think to be alive, can you reach perfection while alive?
Is perfection reachable? Period. I mean, we don't have
Exactly. So I
been
just
dead.
kind of said for the dead because I'm like, just dead that whole idea of
Oh, I
perfection.
got it. I got it.
Um, uh, but I also know that if I do make a mistake or when I make a mistake, I will apologize, and turn those moments into teachable ones. So all in all, I would be a very human mother, a gay ass human mother.
I love it.
Yeah, and I would let that child know that I'm human and they're human and
Mm.
they have a journey and I'm here to guide. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, yeah. I feel like based on my definition of a mother, it really has little to do with physically birthing a child. It's more about the way you guide and impact another human.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's very important just to realize that um, apologies, sincere apologies go so far. I'm just thinking about my own mother and my own rearing, and by no means was she perfect, but there were plenty of times where there were conversations about, listen, I don't have a rubric and I'm doing my best. And you know what? When I mess up, I am going to take accountability for that and say, I apologize. That was not my intention. My intent is not to harm or hurt you. I'm doing my best and please forgive me, and then taking the steps to be better afterwards. Like, I think that's the definition of being an amazing parent. It's just taking accountability for the fact that you fucked up. Like, I fucked up. I'm gonna do
Right.
better. I do have a question, but I think I'll ask it after the impact, or do you want me to ask it now?
Ask where you feel like it would fit best.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna ask it now because I already brought
Okay.
it up.
Okay.
Okay, so I thought about this like as I was like writing my outline, and I was like, what do you think would be hard to parent, or how do you think it was hard to parent you? And what if you had to parent you? What would be difficult about that? What a question.
Oh,
I have thoughts if you want to, because I know I sprung it on you. If you want to think about it, I will go into my little, you know, thoughts about it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got a head start on me. So go ahead.
I
Go
do. Okay.
ahead.
So for me, I feel like I am a very particular person. I am very sensitive. And when my feelings are hurt in my youth, my reaction was seen as very attitudinal. I'm very strong willed. And if you don't say shit to me the right way, I don't give a fuck. You can beat me, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to not hear you. So there were a lot of times that being spoken to in any way outside of like calmly and rationally, you're not gonna get what you need from me because you're not giving me what I need. And I can see as a parent how that can be stressful, especially if life is what life is. And my mom, being sick and being like a lot of other things going on in life where it's like I don't have necessarily the time to cater to this particular sensitivity that you may be having. I just need you to do what I say, or I just need you to understand. But a lot of times my feelings would be hurt. And I don't know that I expressed it in a way that I would express it now. I can say, you hurt my feelings and I don't like that, versus me just being like, I don't know, rolling my eyes and going to my room or whatever. I could see how my attitudinal presentation of my feelings being hurt would be difficult because I have been around other children who do that. And I'm just like, I don't really have the time. I'm tired. I'm busy. I'm this. I'm that. There's so much other stuff going on in the adult life that children don't think about or have to think about that makes it difficult to rear that type of child, a very stubborn, very like, you know, and I don't think it's anything wrong with being stubborn. Like, I'm grateful for my very strong will. I am, but I imagine that that's a very difficult child to parent and raise. And so, I think at this point, I think that would be probably the toughest thing that maybe my mom had to deal with me.
Ooh, okay. I can
Yeah.
see that being a challenge.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Are you still
If
thinking?
you I am. I'm also thinking about what you just said as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Uh,
and I've dealt with it now as an adult.
mhm.
So I think patience is the key. And my mom did have
That's
an
what I was thinking.
extreme amount of patience. And my patience has grown a lot, but I don't even know that I'm to the level that my mom was. So I think that would be how I would have to handle me is with
Ooh,
patience and with a soft,
grace.
yeah, with grace, with understanding that, because I've had other like teenagers and stuff that I've helped to raise, and I see these things and I'm like, okay, your feelings are hurt. So let's get to the bottom of it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I hurt your feelings. What you know what I mean? I get it. And it's hard because ego is with you your whole life. So you have to check that shit as an adult. If a kid get rude to you, you're like, you're a kid. Do not get rude with me. But it's like that's coming from somewhere. So I definitely think patience is how my mother didn't kill me. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you
Oh,
cannot be an insecure soul or parent. You
yeah.
gotta have to have an understanding of, okay, that's how you're handling things.
Yeah.
That's not gonna work for me and probably a majority of society. So I'm gonna have patience and redirect because it sounds like you're the type of kid. If she tried to tell you what to do, you're like, why I gotta do that? And it
I
would have been like
mean,
a whole,
Becky was a real black mama, so that shit would have never come out of my mouth because I have all my teeth, you know, and I would have had none. I would have had none. So I wasn't like white kid disrespectful. That would never have happened. But it was more so the silent shit where I would just like, because my mom was my best friend, right? And so then when she did something that bothered me, then I just wouldn't speak to her. Like, where you don't get to know shit about me. I'm not telling you anything. I'm
mm,
about to be in my room. I'm about to be reading my books, and you can ask, but I'm gonna be like nothing. Because what you gonna do? Force me to tell you something? You ain't force me to tell you shit. Like, so it would be like very subtle or like but she would know because otherwise I'm like, girl, let me tell you what happened at school today, type of shit. So it was never overt because I would not be with you guys today. I don't want it to come across like I was just this, like, whatever. No, it was very much still respectful, if you will,
uh,
because my mom scared me. Um,
oh damn. Okay. Okay.
because she was so nice. But when she was mad, I mean, she was mad, like,
Sound
So
like you.
yeah, and I think that's the thing, just knowing yourself because you're going to produce that, especially if it's your biological. That's why I asked this question. What if you produced you again? What if it was you were raising? Like, how would you do? How would you do it?
Ah. Oh, okay. So I was a good kid. I think I was very reserved.
Mm,
Like, so when you talk about like withholding information, it like I would tell everybody else's business to my mom but my own.
that's funny.
So I would say like I always felt like me and my mother were very different. Like that there was definitely out that like there was some lacking of understanding when it came to me and to her, and therefore, like, our communication didn't sync up.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's like we just decided to kinda settle on the communication we could have.
Yeah.
Because I remember I would come like, I'm an Aries, so, I would have, like, this fire and this strong kind of, like, emotional response, and there were a few times I come to my mom, and I really just wanna vent, but she's a Virgo, and she's like, "Well, how we gonna solve it?" Like,
Right.
and I'm like, "Solve it? I'm just mad." And she's
Right.
just like, "We just mad?" And I was
Just
like, "Yeah."
right.
She's like, "You don't wanna do nothing about it?" I was like, "Nah." She's like, "Girl, let me get back to my rum and coke." And I'm just like, "But my feelings." And she's like,
Oh my
"You'll be
god.
fine." So I think just like that understanding of what I needed, I think that's what would be difficult, having the patience and the knowing to say, "Okay, I don't think I'm fully understanding this person." And to take that extra time to learn each other and settle on a way of communication where both parties feel validated and heard and like both feel like they can have a voice and speak up, because it just got to the point where I'm like, I'm not going to get what I feel like I need, so I'm not even going to go to this person with this,
Mm.
like
So
this like I
I'm sorry, go ahead. I
so
apologize.
like I think that's the hard part. I think, my mother was like, yeah, there's something going on, but I was like, I'm not going there with you. because
Yeah.
you're going to try to fix it
Mhm.
or you're going to, and I just need somebody to just listen.
Gotcha.
And so I think that would be what's the hardest part, like kind of raising a child you don't understand.
Yeah.
And you don't understand why you don't understand. Yeah, I think she was coming from a point that a standpoint where like children are children, they're the same.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, we all different,
Right.
you know. And
Right.
she's like, nah, you not fitting to be different. You fitting to be what I need you to be. That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I personally don't know because I think we both have I think she produced an aspect of herself in me where she just wasn't really vocal with her emotions.
Yeah.
So therefore I learned, oh, we don't really talk about that. So but that right there, talking about how you feel, that's how you understand people. That's how you foster that communication. So that's the tough part, like where you have a kid where you're like, I don't get it. I don't get you.
Right. So you feel like the hardest thing in raising you was your mom not understanding you.
Yes.
Okay. And you feel like that would be very difficult for you if you were to have raised you.
If I were to have raised me, I knowing like being myself and knowing what I know now, I think I would put more effort in trying to get to know and understand the child.
I got you.
But I also realized that that would take a lot of patience,
Mhm.
a lot of time, and then I would have to be secure in myself emotionally
Mhm.
to be able to do that exploration and
Mhm.
then be able to honor it because there's one thing to do the exploration and sift out this information and there's another piece where you want to change it because you think that's it's a problem.
Right. Right.
So to be able to still remain neutral, if it's risky, it takes a lot of thought and consideration.
Mhm.
I think that's what it is. It would take a lot of thought and consideration and to know that it's important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad we kind of explored that because I often think about that. Like, when they say like, oh, you're gonna have like if you have kids, you're gonna have a kid that's twice what you were or whatever. And my brother always says that. He's like, man, your kid, I can't wait to see your kids. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, you gonna see. And my niece is actually very similar to me. Like she's just as annoying and aggravating as I was to my brothers. Like really, she used to just be putting her feet on her brother and like just being so aggravating. And I was like, yes, I love it because that's me. Like that's literally me. That's my love language. And
annoying people is your love
yeah,
language.
yeah.
I
And then
didn't
now,
know.
yes, you did.
I didn't know that was a category, but I
Oh,
knew that
well,
that's
y'all
what
know
you do.
now. Y'all know now.
Okay. Mm.
and and it's just funny because I see her and I see aspects of me and I see this little I guess they call it attitude, and I see it and I'm like, I get it. I get it. And so I don't know, maybe if I had to deal with it all the time, maybe I would be frustrated, like, oh, I'm just dealing with myself. I don't know, but I feel like I'm understanding myself a lot more. And so I feel like to see that in a child, I can say, okay, I feel like I may know where this is coming from. Let's talk about it. What's up? Did I hurt your feelings? Because you're treating me in a rude way and I don't understand. You know what I mean? And just giving them a voice to that emotion because 9 times out of 10, there is something going on. Whatever's happening with the child, there's something going on. So but yeah, I'm glad you answered that. Thanks for what was I gonna say? Thanks for going
Answering?
along with it. Yeah. There was something else I was gonna say. Placating me, but that wasn't it. But
Mhm.
something similar. But anyway, yes, I thought that was a fun question.
It was.
Yeah.
It threw me a bit. I'm like,
I saw.
me, raising me. I don't think it would be bad to raise me. I just think it would take like time to understand and to like unwrap me because I think I was, wound a bit tight.
What you? That's crazy.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow, I know.
Oh, okay,
Shocking.
but I shock. Okay, so now we are to the impact, and I think the impact is that my children would enjoy being around me for the most part, as I actively maintain this childlike wonder about the world, and I appreciate the world through the eyes of the youth. So I feel like they would enjoy, that. However, I am actively working on the judgmental aspects of my personality because I can only imagine as a child having a judgmental parent might feel a bit stifling. So I sit with the uncomfortability of someone doing something in complete and total opposite of the way that I would do it. Um, this is for me personally, like judge not least ye be judged kind of thing, but also for the benefit of everybody I interact with, including my possible future children. Um, so yeah, I am working actively on maintaining childlike wonder. That's just for myself,
Mhm.
because it's fun. But also, I recognize that there are some pieces of me that could make raising another human being or being the guide for another human being very difficult. Nobody wants to be judged. Nobody wants to be told that the way that they're doing things is wrong, unless it's really like you're about to run into the street and like die. So I'm trying to find this balance between what is life threatening, and what is just something that I wouldn't do. You
Mm.
know, um, a lot of the people in my cast, they like, they do. Everybody does drugs, and everybody does like not like bad drugs or anything, but just they just do drugs and they drink a lot and all this stuff. And I still struggle with this piece of judgment, and I'm working on it, but I feel it, especially if somebody's like, oh, I drink all the time. I'm like, that seems like you need help, because why would you want to be drinking all the time? That feels like you're hiding from your life. Like that's what happens in my head, but it's not my place. It's not my life. If you're living your life and you haven't asked me for any help, I just need to shut the fuck up because it don't have nothing to do with me. So that's like pieces like that
Mhm.
are what I am still recognizing, when I'm faced
Mhm.
with these things. Because like in my everyday life, I don't know what people's habits are.
Mhm.
So but then when I'm faced with somebody saying like, oh yeah, I just have to have a little drink all the time, and I'm just like immediately I'm like, yo, I feel like you need therapy. Because that
Okay.
doesn't sound healthy, but like again, these people haven't asked me. That's not my place. It's not my business. Um, and so I'm sitting in this place of just recognizing like the judgment is not mine to have,
Mhm.
and trying to work through my immediate responses to these like stimuli. So yeah, that's what I think the impact is.
So kind of distinguishing between judgment and concern,
Exactly.
and
And how far do I
sitting
go?
right,
Hmm.
right. Because I don't know if a judgment really aims to help. I think concern is more, you're aiming to help, or there's a regard there, and there's a respect for their free will. Also, I would think with concern. So, ooh,
I mean, it's a
so
hard
yeah,
one because all of it for me stems from concern. If you were somebody
right.
that I don't care about at all, you can say whatever you say, and I have absolutely no care about it. I'm just like, live your worst life. Um, but it doesn't affect me at all. But if I care about you in the least, and that's for me where I'm just like, yo, like that doesn't seem healthy. And so yeah, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it. That's the impact, is that I'm still working on the pieces of myself that I feel like might be hard to have in a parent,
Hmm.
in a guide, in a human, in a friend, all of those things. So
I mean,
yeah.
it seems like you have a lot of awareness. So
Mm.
just knowing to check yourself, I think that's when it becomes judgment. Like when you just jump out there and you
Yeah.
didn't even sit with yourself and be like, okay, why am I viewing this like this? Is
Hmm.
it my place to view this like this?
Right.
You
Right.
know? And then once you do all those steps, like you said, like you described, then, if you proceed, then it's like, okay, it's out of concern, not necessarily as a, I don't like this,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
So what about you?
that,
What has Oh, I'm
so
sorry.
I said, yeah, that awareness. That's just that
Yeah.
awareness.
Trying. Okay, so what about you? What is the impact for you?
Well, I did not take it in the same direction that you did.
Right.
I completely went about it thinking about the actual concept of motherhood and how that has impacted me as a person,
Okay.
not necessarily about how, like, the impact of me being a mother
Mhm.
on the children. So I'm gonna try to do both.
Okay.
So with this is my original the original way I went about it. So when I think about motherhood, like the impact of it on my life, I noticed that I have never been one to fantasize about having children,
Mhm.
like especially babies. You know, babies are cool and all for 5 minutes, and then bodily fluids start leaking, and then their parents go missing, and then you're
That's
like,
hilarious.
your baby is leaking. Come, like
Come
it's
get
like
it.
flooding. It has things. It's changing colors. Come get this baby. You know.
Right.
So even when I mull around, with the thought of adopting,
Mhm.
I really have to ask myself, is it something that I want,
Mhm.
or is it more of it's close enough? Like I'm just striking a box off of the life script, so and I don't entirely think so. I don't think it's just like, oh, like let me just strike it off so I can be a mother, and adopting is a way that I don't have to push it physically out of my vagina, which is something I really do not want to do.
Same.
Um, yeah, there's some women though who are like, yeah, I just want to, have that experience of getting so close to death without dying. And I'm just like,
You're so
oh,
ridiculous.
that's what they say. That's what they say. It's the closest you'll get to death without dying. I was
That's
like,
true.
if I get that close to death, let me go.
You're dumb. She said, "Let me go." I hate you. You're so ridiculous.
So I'm like, just don't, because I wouldn't come back. I'm like, the door is there. I'm gonna
I'm
go.
going
I'm
toward the light.
going. I'm like, have fun with the baby.
You're so ridiculous.
I am truly ridiculous. So,
Mhm.
I don't, like I said, I don't think I'm just striking a box with my desire to foster or adopt in the future, but I do think it's important to ask myself that question. So anyway, there's that. But the concept itself of motherhood has always left me feeling like if I didn't have kids, then what was I supposed to do? Like, why am I here? I feel
Mhm.
like society really makes it feel like if you ain't pumping them out, then you're just taking up space.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
feel like that concept of motherhood has put pressure on me to find something to be.
Okay.
Like I'm like, if I'm not gonna be a mother, then I gotta be something bigger to make up for the fact that I'm not a mother.
I got
You
you.
know, that's the type of justification to my presence. Like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to be down here, I have all the litter of children, but I don't
Right.
want to do that. So look at this. I'm a billionaire, or I'm this or that,
Yeah.
something that, it's like, I'm not a mother, but we can forgive that because I cured cancer. And
Right.
that's why I couldn't have children, because I was curing the cancer.
Right.
Like
Right.
like Mother Teresa, is anybody worrying why she didn't have kids? You know?
Well, she is a mother though, so.
I just don't. Did you see how she got that title
How?
without kids?
How she
It's
do it?
like, okay, maybe that's it. I could just nurture the world. Boom.
I mean, I think
Boom.
it's an excellent idea.
Right. And I think that's what I'm trying to do in a way,
Mhm.
just not through my vagina.
I hear you. The vagina bit is a little frightening, so
Right.
yeah, I got you. I get it.
I applaud those who do it though.
Yeah.
Like somehow I follow a midwife, and like she be having people in like little kiddie pools and shit, just humming and shit, and pushing out babies, and I'm just like, why am I watching these videos?
If I ever did, I would definitely want to do it in a kiddie pool. I want to have a water birth. I used to really want kids. Like, I don't
Oh,
know that I ever necessarily wanted to be like pregnant. That was never like the fantasy, but I definitely wanted children. And I was like, I'm going to have a water birth, all these things, all these ideas. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I ain't never, I ain't
Wow.
never, the closest, no, with like the belly, that just seemed like it would just be a lot for my lower back, and I feel like I already got like a lot, that's
Happening.
fucking with my lower back, and then I'm like, just to add a stomach to it. I mean, oh,
It's a lot.
it's a lot. I applaud the people who do it. I know
Mhm.
it's only 9 months, but I'm just like,
10.
dang,
Yeah.
10. Okay, okay, 10.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no. And then you got to train it like to use the bathroom,
Not it.
toilet, because I don't know if it's a boy or girl.
Oh, I got you. Wow.
Them, there we go.
Yeah.
Them,
Gotta train
train
him.
them. Their use. Please don't come for me, y'all. I'm trying. This is part of the. I'm work. You see, I used the wrong phrasing. I admit I corrected myself. See, I'm on my way. I'm on
To
my
being a
way.
great mom. That's true.
I don't
Wow.
know about that. I'm on my way to being a great human.
Okay.
The
So
mother piece. Well, yeah, we'll just just we'll work that out. Give me like we'll follow up in like a half a decade, like 5 years,
5 years?
and then
Okay.
yeah, 5
See
years.
what
We'll
you
see where
feel?
we're at.
Okay.
See how I feel. See how I feel about that.
Okay.
Um. So yeah. So then, like the impact of me being a mother on the child,
Mm.
where I am now in the present, because I'm trying to
Right.
stay. You know, there is going to be aspects. There's going to be pieces that come out that I'm still struggling with. Like if I were to have a kid today, there are things that I'm still struggling with, but I'm aware of them.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm leaning on the fact that I will be able to give myself enough grace to double back and apologize once
Yeah.
I realize, like, oh, dang, I said that you should drink soda this way, or you should, when really it's up to you. It's not that big of a deal,
Mhm.
to be able to go back and be like, look, I know I gave you a hard time about that soda, the way you were sipping it, it looked a little crazy, but that wasn't my place.
Mhm.
As long as you get the soda in you and not on the table in your shirt and everything, we're cool.
Mhm.
I overstepped.
Mhm.
Or that was a frivolous example, but you get what I mean. I
Yeah.
think I would not be perfect, and I think that is something that I attach to motherhood, like this
Okay.
idea of being perfect, and I'm trying to dismantle that.
Got you.
Um, and just focus on being human. So I think that's the impact. I think kids like me,
Mhm.
but then there's certain things that is really hard for me to shake. Like for instance, I babysat like a 10-year-old one time.
Mhm.
Poor boy. He's probably still traumatized.
Oh, Lord.
And when it came to his homework,
Uh-huh.
like my mother came out.
Oh,
My
God.
mother came out full effect. There was just certain things I would not tolerate from him. Like
Uh-huh.
if he said something that sounded crazy and it sounded like he was trying to lie,
Uh-huh.
oh, I was definitely trying to like hunt down the truth.
Oh,
I was like, that
God.
don't even make sense. You just said to me this. He's like, but I was like, but okay, so let's repeat what you said. At this time on this day, you said X, Y, and
Oh,
Z.
God.
And now you're telling me this and this. So which one is the truth? Like he was looking at me like, you are not my mother. I only had him for like a week,
Oh, my
you know.
goodness.
And then, like with his homework assignment, he was reading something, and then you know how you have to do reading comprehension exercises. He was like read a passage and then answer the questions. So
Mhm.
I reviewed his answers. I was like, let's go back and read this passage, and then he read it again. And then I was like, okay, now let's look at your answer. He's like, I don't know. I was like, read it again. What does it say? And then he read it again. I was like, what is the answer? He said, I don't know. I said, the answer is right there. Read it again. What kind of pie did he make?
Oh,
He's
Lord.
like, he made lemon chiffon pie. What kind of pie did he make? I don't know. Read the line again. And I was just going
He was
back and
one of
forth.
them
I,
parents.
I was not trying to help him, and I was not helpful at all. I'm just like, and he's like, I don't know, lemon chiffon. I was like, why you acting like you can't read?
Oh, no.
It
That
was
poor
terrible. It
baby.
was terrible. It was terrible. And I was just so worked up. And it just took me back to my mother trying to do math with me
Oh, God.
and her just not helping me at all. She just read the question and I would give an answer and it'd be dead ass wrong. And then
Dang.
she'd be like, I'm gonna ask you again. And I'll just be like, you know what? This was a mistake. I should not have asked you. I'll just fail math. I'll just fail. And
Not
so
I'll just fail.
and the eyes popping out like, I can't believe you trying to be that stupid right now.
Uh,
So
uh-uh.
so just kind of like relaxing in certain areas. There's certain
Yeah.
areas that I'm very uptight, and
Mhm.
I think it's a survival thing. Like when it comes to school, when it comes to like certain things, integrity and telling the truth and things like that. Those are things that like I feel like in my house were very critical, very important. Things. It's like if you don't
Right.
have your integrity, and if you don't have an education, then what are we doing?
Right.
But to kind of just like, I'm working on even that for myself, riding
Mm,
myself that hard, you know?
mm,
So that I think that's the impact of motherhood for me. Just kind of, I would have to deal with a lot of my issues simultaneously,
mhm,
trying to guide myself while guiding someone else. And
mhm.
like, learning about myself and be like, oh, okay, or learning just like about life.
Yeah.
And then being able to pass it along. Like,
Yeah.
at first I thought I just had to know everything. And then once I knew everything and I was good with myself, then have children. And I don't think that's how it works.
No, it's not.
And then there also be open to the fact that children can also teach me something. That's another
Exactly.
big thing. So yeah, I think I answered that. I think I
Yeah,
answered them.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah. Okay, well, that was our impact, and now we're to the cope. And I think for me, I cope by recognizing things in myself that might make me being a life guide easier. Because I think that's all that
Yeah.
parentage is. You're here to guide a life. That is another soul, that is another being, that is not you
Mm.
incarnate, that is not, you repeated, that is someone else entirely, and you're just here to guide their life. So I am coping by recognizing the things that might make it easier for me to guide a life. I don't know that I'll ever have kids, but I do interact with my nieces and nephews and godchildren enough to know that I want to be a good influence and a positive spirit in their lives. Um, over the years, I've allowed for the possibility that I may do something wrong in these interactions. And that when I do these things and they are brought to my attention, I want to remain teachable, kind of like what you just said. I want to remain in the understanding that I am learning as well, that I am not done growing, and that the child or the children can teach me. And my nieces and nephews and my godchildren, they are always teaching me. I love to be around the youth because there is always something to glean from them, and just the way that they see the world, the way that they understand, and to be reminded of some of the things that maybe I have lost from my own youth. So I just cope by remaining open, you know. I think
I
that's the
love.
main thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So what
love
about
that.
you? How are you coping?
Okay, so I cope first
Mhm.
and foremost, primarily by realizing that my reason for being alive is not in my ovaries and occupancy of my uterus. That's
Right.
number one. And I exist because I was meant to do just that, exist.
Mhm.
And how I choose to exist and what roles I take on is at my full discretion as afforded by my free will.
I love that.
Yes. But I also cope by thanking and being grateful for all the mothers out there
Mhm.
because you don't have to do it and you choose to, and it's a tough job.
Mhm.
And it's thankless at times, but it's also rewarding and it's also very needed.
Yeah.
Um, and yes, just in all capacities, whether you birthed this child, you took a child in, or you chose to mother the world and really take on that responsibility to be a support and a source of nourishment and nurturing to people.
Right.
Because that takes a lot of energy to do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I also cope by continuing to learn and expand my view of womanhood and motherhood and not making them synonymous with one another.
Yeah.
Uh, I cope by respecting the choice of a woman to become a mother or not.
Yeah.
I cope by acknowledging and accepting all of the choices I make as a woman as it pertains to motherhood or otherwise.
Yeah.
And I cope by giving my mother and her mother and her mother and beyond grace because with every step we got better.
Mm.
And I think that's more the goal than getting it right, to just get
Yeah.
it better,
I
to get
love
better.
that.
Yeah, to have
I
the
love
never.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. This was a really fun episode. I didn't know how it was going to go, and I thought it would be interesting to really kind of dive into ourselves and see, what kind of mamas we would be. Will we have kids out here singing for us? Mama, I love you.
Do you think so?
I think my kids, listen, the kids in my life already are so beautiful and special, and they always want to do like little stuff for me as the aunt or the godparent. And granted, these are just, I'm only getting glimpses of their lives in small dosages, and I know that to live with me full time would be a slight bit different, but I do think that I would get along well with my children and they would want to do the things for me. I don't know. I mean, maybe. You can only hope. These are hopes and wishes. I hope my kid get drafted, to the what is WNBA, NFL, and they'd be like, my mama's retired. These are the fantasies.
Okay. So you
but
yanking
but
girlfriends off laps and stuff. Talk about, nah, you ain't messing up my bag.
Nah, I'm not gonna embarrass my child, but I will be giving that good side eye. But yeah, I don't know. This was a fun topic. I'm glad we were able to like kind of explore ourselves and see, just what we think about motherhood and how we think we would do, how we would fare at it. Um, yeah. So I guess we're to the recap now then.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, so then to recap, we recognize that our value as women doesn't lie in the notion that we must bear children. We alone are worthy, but should we happen to become mothers, we have assessed that we could offer so much to a child, and yet still there are things we could learn about how to be a guide to the youth, and therefore we continue to build ourselves up with grace and ease. Should we happen to stumble upon being mothers?
Not stumble upon.
Because
Like
one of us
you
is gonna
making it
like,
sound
well,
like Mary and Joseph and them. Well, I just
I
was walking down the street and boom,
listen,
I just
that's
stumbled
what's gonna
upon
have to
a.
happen. That's what's gonna have to happen for a baby to be up in this belly. Okay, Jesus gonna have to come down from above. But no.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
I don't know. You never know what will happen. But anyway, that is the recap, and I think we are to shout outs, or where are we? What do we want to do? You want to shout out right now?
Yeah,
Do you
let's go ahead since you mentioned it.
Okay. Who would you like to shout out, Rena?
So, shout out to all the mothers out there doing their best to love, nurture, and protect humans, all the humans in their lives. You are appreciated, and without you, none of us would exist nor survive. Shout out to my mother and her mother and her mother for choosing to be a mother because thanks. Just thanks.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I would like to shout out to my mommy in heaven who did her best. And for that, I am supremely and forever grateful. Amen. Um, and so now we are to my favorite part, which is the meditation. For those of you who are just joining, what we do is take a couple deep breaths. We set an intention, take another couple breaths, and then I let you go about your day. So, what I want you to do for me is to take a big, deep breath.
It's a mess.
Hey, that's all I can do.
It's
I
a
can't sing.
mess. It's okay. He's gonna talk over my singing though. Okay, it's ready now.